the people who have killed our beloved ones in the schools, in the masjids or mosques. Well, I don't see a future for Afghan women anymore in that country. You have betrayed us by the wrong decisions that you have made, but it's still time. Stop supporting the Taliban.
Since Taliban gained power in Afghanistan, it has been a series of diktats after diktats, stripping women away of their basic rights and freedom. From school to employment opportunities to now even their voice, Taliban wants to erase women from public life. In fact, as per the recent diktat, women cannot even be heard singing, reciting or reading in public. So to discuss this pressing issue, joining me now is Parasto Hakim. She's a teacher and advocate for women's rights. She's joining me from Brussels. Thank you, Parasto, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So she's been someone who's been in Afghanistan and she fled the country in 2023 and currently she's running some secret schools in Afghanistan. So she's going to give us an insider view of what's the situation on ground and what are the conditions for women in Afghanistan. So Parasto, I want to begin with asking you, with this new set of vice and virtue laws brought up by Taliban, what kind of restrictions does it list out for women?
So first of all, Afghanistan is currently going back to 1996 as the Taliban first rule over Afghanistan.
Yes.
We are, especially the women in Afghanistan, are facing the same restrictions, and they are completely vanished and deleted from the communities, from the, we can say, the whole country. The restrictions that we have heard about, and they have been stated by the Taliban a few days back. It's not the first time that they are saying it, because it have been going on since they have came back to the power, and even before they taking power in Afghanistan. There were so many places inside the country that they were still under the power of the Taliban, and they had the same rules and the same behavior with the women, and they were publicly executing the women. They were not allowing them to go to schools, they were not allowing them to go to university or work, and if somebody was doing that, like some women were actively working or they were independent, they were just like assassinating them. So I think
this was the time when Taliban was not in power, right? Even before that, all of these things were happening.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
So for example, I can have an example, like in 2010, I was a school child, like I was going to the school, and the Taliban firstly started poisoning the schools. It was the first thing that I have been witnessing of by myself inside our schools. And I have seen my own friends that they have been vanishing in front of my eyes, and our teachers, they were poisoned inside the schools, and we were like rushing. We could not believe our own eyes, and it was the situation that now I understand that this all thing started not like from 2021 in August. It started way more before they take the power.
Okay, and what does the recent restrictions list out for women?
So the recent restrictions are this, that women should be fully covered, even their faces and hands should not be visible. The type of clothing or hijab or the cover that they choose, they should be like fully like baggy. They should not show the shape of their bodies. Women should not be seen publicly speaking with a man who she doesn't know. And at the same time, even they have stated that her voice, woman's voice, should not be heard by anybody around her, especially men. And in the same time, she should not look at a man directly.
Wow. So, you mentioned that the conditions have been like this ever since I'm guessing since 2000s, right? Early 2000s?
Even more before that.
Even before that. So, okay,
Yes.
you left Afghanistan in 2023. So, could you please explain to us what were the conditions that led you to flee your own country? And since then, in 1 year, what have been the conditions for women in Afghanistan? Like over the past 1 year, what are the changes that have been brought by Taliban?
So the situation in Afghanistan, in every day, if we count, every day we are going 1 month backwards.
Okay.
So the situation is now more restricted for women. Before I left the country in 2023, we were able to work in some of the offices. We were able to and take a taxi by ourselves without a guardian. But nowadays, if a woman take a taxi without her brother, husband, father, the Taliban will stop her car and they will beat the taxi driver for having a woman without her mahram or her guardian in the taxi. So imagine from here how much the situation is restricted for women, and this whole situation comes up to this conclusion that they do not want women to be in the community, to be a part of the community as a human being. They just want them to be at home. Even at home, nobody should hear her voice. So it is something that you have to stay at home and wait for the day that you are going to die.
Okay, so tell me this, it is because of such laws in Afghanistan that you have to run secret schools. I mean, it has come to the point that you have to go in hiding to do something as basic as studying. So could you tell us, how do you run these secret schools and how the secret revolution is being carried out in Afghanistan on ground?
So after the Taliban takeover, they came very briefly and spoke about this, that they are not going to open the schools very soon. And the way that they were speaking, it was the same as they were speaking in 1986. So we knew, a bunch of our friends and young generation of Afghanistan who have been educated in the past 20 years, we have got to know shortly that they are not going to open the schools, and they are going to make it wider, the restrictions, and they're going to ban the university too. So we have sat together and we have made a small organization by the name of SRAC back then. We started this education undergrounded in the houses of our students and our teachers who are teaching in the schools, who were before teaching in the schools, but now they could not because girls were not allowed to go to school anymore. So they didn't had anything else to do but to give hope for their own students inside their own houses. So after that, the need for education was more and more, and we were just like standing there and providing the teachers with books, school materials, and also methodologies on how to make and activate or establish a school in their own areas. So we have schools all across Afghanistan. It's not only in Kabul. We even have schools in Kandahar, and we have like this thing in our head that we have to make it expand the school as much as we can to have access to each and every girl inside the houses.
Exactly. So where does funding come from? Is it just community support, or are you being supported by any external power here?
So when we started, it was all voluntarily work, but then we had friends that they have been helping us with the funding so that we can go on. But still, in the most cases, we can say like it's 70% it's a voluntarily work from the women of Afghanistan to the women of Afghanistan.
You know, that's a pretty great initiative and pretty brave also when we consider the situation you taking this under. Okay, tell me about this, that there has been a lot of condemnation worldwide about the kind of diktats Taliban has been bringing, you know, one after the other. But when it comes to an insider's view, it becomes very difficult to understand what an average Afghani woman feels about it because of the scrutiny and because of the restrictions Taliban has put in place. But since you are in touch with the community, could you give us a view of what an Afghani woman feels like right now?
Well, I think the Afghan women have felt betrayed and felt being left behind it in 2020 when they started to speak and negotiate with the Taliban. The people who have killed our beloved ones in the schools, in the masjids or mosques, in the on the streets, in universities, and this whole thing that is happening today. It is really, for an insider, for an Afghan woman, it is not a surprising thing, because we knew the Taliban are going to do that, because the Taliban are not made for this thing to make something good. They are just made to destroy good things and beautiful things. So for us, it is more of a thing that we have been waiting for to happen. So, for example, right now we are waiting for more limitations and restrictions as well. And from right now, we are planning on how we have to function if the limitations become wider than that. So, for example, we are right now planning to make schools for primary education, to make primary education available and possible as well for the girls, that today they are going to the school, but tomorrow we are waiting for that the Taliban will ban primary education for the girls as well.
Yeah, so just to let our viewers know that currently in Afghanistan, secondary education has been banned for women, but still young girls can go to primary schools, right?
Yes. Primary education.
But you think this will be the next target?
Yes, absolutely.
So you have been planning schools for that as well?
Yes, so this is the whole picture of every Afghan woman. We are finding ways on how to deal with the problems and the restrictions that they make, to still go on and live our lives and not be disappointed.
All right, you talked about future. So with these restrictions coming in place, we're losing out on generations of progress, right? So how do you see the future of Afghani women right now?
Well, I don't see a future for Afghan women anymore in that country. But with the little help that we are providing, there are so many small and big organizations inside the country that they are working for women in education and supporting small businesses for them and providing skill building programs for them. So we have still the hope that there are some women that they are working for each other, and this is called resistance. I think that the women are doing this is called hope, and creating hope for each other, so that they do not be disappointed, and in the same time not be forced for early marriages in a very young age. It is really bizarre and cruel to force a girl for marriage, but this is happening in Afghanistan. And I think from day one we have been planning on the worst case scenarios. So for us, we, even in the worst situation, we are looking for a way to still keep going, because we don't have any hope on the way the world is functioning, and we have seen the way they have taken the decision. So we don't trust on them anymore. We just trust each other.
All right. Tell me about this. You mentioned that it is an initiative taken by Afghani women for Afghani women. What has been the role of men on the ground? Have they been supportive for such initiative? Because obviously it has been very difficult for you to run secret schools, with regards to Taliban restrictions in place.
Yes. So it is always a big question for everyone that in this situation, where are men standing? Men are standing with us. For example, my father is standing with me by supporting me. My brother is standing there with me by giving us all the resources that we need when we are really restricted by function, operation wise, or even the financial situation. We have a very big team of very talented Afghan generation, that they are not only women, they are not only girls, they are men too. And mostly men are doing the operations on the field, because women can't move and they can't go. And it's not because of that. Even when women were allowed to travel and go to take the school materials for the schools outside the Kabul or even inside the Kabul, the men were standing there with us. And they were helping us in the same way. This is only the education phase that it's going on with our organization. There are the same small businesses that they are being run by women inside the country, and men are standing with them to do the operational. And in the same time, we should not forget that our Afghan military forces, they are fighting every day since 2021 against the Taliban.
Yes.
And they don't even have the basic food or the basic access to water, but they are still standing there and fighting for their country. So we should not, while we are speaking about this fact that they are very dark day, we should not forget that the Taliban have access to very major military equipment that they have been left in 2021. But people in Afghanistan, they don't have even a small knife to defend themselves. So the only resistance that we do is the front lines that they are fighting against the Taliban, and also this small works that we, the people of Afghanistan, the young generation, or everybody who is active right now, we are doing to support the people of Afghanistan in these dark days.
Exactly. You mentioned that there are also several businesses being carried out secretly where men are helping women. So could you elaborate on that?
So there are so many Afghan women and Afghan girls that since the university have been banned for them in December 2022, the women and girls have been trained and they have started their own online businesses.
All right.
So these businesses are being run, like the graphics and the designs and the social media works are being done by the girls inside the houses. Like, for example, they are making websites, they are doing coding, they are selling stuff, and the operational thing outside the house is being done by their family members who are male.
No, that's really good to hear that. So my last question for you is, do you have any message for the world as someone who's been fighting for the rights of women in Afghanistan?
Unfortunately, I don't have anything to tell them, but the biggest thing is this, that choose your words wisely, because it might destroy a whole generation. You have betrayed us by the wrong decisions that you have made, but it's still time. Stop supporting the Taliban.
All right. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us, and we wish you more courage so that you can raise your voice against Taliban and for women's rights. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Stay tuned to India Today Global for more such updates.